Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and today I'm going to try to jerk this old front end out of my snapper, put the new one in that we built in the last video, and see if I can get this thing back down on its tires and then do my upgrade, let's say, to it. That's going to be revealed spring if it ever gets here. Still a little cold outside, but it's warm in here. So the first thing I want to do is label all the wires. I have a lot of wires going through this tube for my ignition. Let me spin the camera around and show you. Okay, we got to pull the ignition switch out of here. Take the key out first. This big nut comes off. And we can get the switch out. I have a lot more wires than normal on here. A couple of them just pulled off. I want to get them back on so I don't lose track of where they go. Now, being a shop electrician, I have all these handy dandy little tools. And this is a roll of tape. Well, I should say 10 rolls of tape. And each roll has a number on it. So you can open this up and you pull out a strip of tape. Now you can make these as long as you want. You just rip them off and you wrap them around the wires. That way you can hook everything back up a lot quicker and easier without trying to figure out where they go. I'll just take a marker and mark on the outside of the switch a corresponding number. Now if it's two wires you're going to hook together, you can just put numbers on both wires when you pop them apart. Well, we'll wrap them around here. This one will make number 3. And this one's 4. And that one I'm not using. So we'll put a 4 on here. Where to go? See, I have more numbers on here than, or more wires in here on normal, because when I put a solenoid in here and I use the switch to start the engine. Where most ignition switches up here on these machines are just off and on, and you have to turn around and push a button back here by the battery box to start the machine. And we got one more to stick a wire, a number on. I don't know how many videos you've watched of mine, but I've got a headlight on mine, because when I normally do my leaves, it's way after dark. You can't really see what you're doing out there, so I put a headlight on mine so I can do leaves after dark. And I had to drill a hole over here to hook a ground wire for that headlight. And the ground wire comes from the battery. And I have to get a pair of wire cutters. Okay, now we'll try to stuff these wires down through here. If we can get all these plugs through this hole. I don't know, we may end up cutting the ends off them. Yeah, let's pull the cables out first. Give me a little more room in there. Sometimes I think they should have had a bigger pipe to get all this stuff through. We can find the cable down here. Ow. Oh, that's ow. Got some strands on that cable that are broken. They're a little picky. Now we'll pull them out. As we pull them down, I took the brake cable first and I threw it on the same side of the machine as the pedal is, so it'll make it a little easier to hook this thing back up. Now if we can get these wires out of here. I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot easier just to cut the ends off and put new ends on. Let me grab a pair of pliers and I'll be right back. Okay, most of these are all push connectors, female push connectors that go on these pins. One of them that I used for a ground that I had to drill a little hole here is an eye. The eye I'm going to leave on. I don't know if you can see that from this distance or not. I'm going to leave the eye on there so when I get these all taped up and I want to pull them through the new tube, I can hook a wire in that eye and pull them through, or a string or whatever I want to use. So we'll take these off. Once you crush these on, you can't get them back off. So you're just going to have to replace them. Okay, now we're going to tape these up. Try to keep them in a small bundle so they'll come through that hole a little easier when I want to pull them back. Now we should be able to stuff them down through here. Now if you're doing any wiring on your machine, or if you're having any problems with your wiring, like any shorts, your engine wants to quit once in a while because it's like somebody shut the key off. These holes they punch through here for the wires, this one's not bad, but that front end had a very sharp corner that I knew was going to cut a wire or cut through the wire and short it out to the frame. So I got a die grinder out and I ground the back of this corner smooth. Yeah, you might want to check that if you're having any wiring problems. So let's lay this thing down, and I think that'll be the easiest way to get the front end out and to slide the new one in. Now before I pulled it out of here, I can tip this down maybe a little bit. I measured from right here on the frame in the center of this tube up to this edge, and I come up with about 27.5 inches from the center of the point of the front end to the center point of the rear case. And that'll give me an idea to get it close when I put it back together. I'm not going to adjust the cables. I'm going to put them in the same way they were, because when I put the mower deck on and I put the belt on the mower deck, I'm probably going to have to either pull this out or push it in to get the belt adjusted properly. After I do that, I'll adjust the cables for the pedals. Okay, I dropped the camera down. Now we're going to tip this thing over and set it down on the floor. Yeah, that'll probably be the easiest way to do it. Okay, this is one of the clamps that goes around the tube that holds the front end in. This is a spare one I've got. We're going to break this nut loose and try to get this tube out of here. I have new bushings in there, so it should slide out pretty good. Now we got this loose. Let's see if it'll slide out of here. Sometimes them clamps don't really want to let go very good. That's the old one. Probably take the pedals off of that in case somebody needs them, and the rest of it I'll just have to throw away because it's not any good. Ugh, this one's a little bit heavier. Now if we get it all lined back up, getting this clamp on is always fun. It's usually a two-person job. This one don't want to fit very good at all. What about this one? Well, I'm going to have to spread this open a little bit. Boy, don't you just love paws? I had to put that in a vise with 2 screwdrivers and spread this open so the thing would go on. It fits pretty good now. Let's give it another try and see what happens here. Wow, went right in for the most part. Wants to be a little stubborn for some reason. Well, I didn't want it to come totally out, just a little bit. And we'll put some WD-40 on it, help it slide through them plastic fittings a little better. should be close. Now we had 27.5 inches. Let's see what we have here. Ooh, 27.25. Twenty-seven and a half. Now if we can get this bolt back in here, now they've spread that open. Now these are self-locking nuts, so you're going to have to wrench it most of the way on. Now when you put this clamp back on, you want to make sure the bottom is the flat part. It goes on just like this. Then when your front end twists and you're going on a hill or in a little dip or a hole in your yard, this will be able to turn, because this turns with the tube. And if it turns too far, it hits a stop here, and that's all the farther to go. So you don't want to put it on crooked, or it won't turn the right, turn in both directions the way it should. This is starting to grab, so I gotta put a wrench on this side. Don't give you a lot of room to get a wrench on this thing. We won't reef that down too hard. Like I said, when I put the mower deck on, I may have to readjust this whole thing. Now, I guess it'd be just as easy to pull the wires if it's standing up or laying down like this. Okay, we got a wire, just a piece of baling wire with a small hook on this end to grab the wires and cables with, and a larger hook on this end so when I put it in, it don't fall all the way through and I lose that inside my tube. We're going to slip that down in there. Now remember, when I cut all them wires off, I left that one eye on here to hook the wire into. So let's see if we can find it down here and pull it up through. Not yet. Now when you're pulling this up through, you want to keep some tension on the wires that you're pulling so that hook don't come unhooked from your end of your wire. Now, let's see if we can get that through this little hole. And by golly, it came through. There. Now we'll take this tape off and we'll go over to my electrical drawer and I'll get some more of them connectors that I cut off and we'll put them back on. Okay, we got the tape undone and we're going to strip these wires and crimp them ends on. They're basically all the same. Just take a pair of crimpers. Okay, now the ones I like to use are insulated. This metal part up here is covered with plastic or rubber, so when you get in a close situation like this ignition switch is, where you got all these things snapped in relatively close, they won't move and touch each other and short out. So what we're going to do is we're going to crush one of these on here. And we're going to take a small piece of electrical tape and I'm going to wrap it around the outside of this and cover it. So the metal part is covered up. So if they do touch, I won't have a problem. Now I got 2 more of these to do. I'll do them and be right back. Okay, we're going to try and hurry here because this is getting like 20 minutes long. We're going to clamp on the headlight. We'll probably have to adjust it once we get out and driving so it shines straight down the driveway. But like I said, I use this headlight a lot and I'm really glad I took the time to put it on. Because the nice part about it is if you're driving like out in the woods where I go to dump my leaves, as you steer, the light is shining in the direction you're turning. It's not mounted solid to the frame, just pointing straight forward. This one is like, what was that? The old Tucker cars? Back in the 30s, their headlights turned with the front tires. I don't know if you knew that or not. Now we'll hook this switch back up. Let's see, we need number 1. That goes on here. Then 2. And 3, and the headlight plugs in here. That way when you shut your tractor off, your headlight won't stay on and drain your battery down. Because when you shut your key off, it'll shut the headlight off too. But if I'm using it during the day, I also have a switch here on the headlight where I can just shut it off during the daytime. Pair of pliers tighten this nut up. Now we got this screw for the 2 ground wires. This first ground wire is for the ignition switch, and without that hooked up, when you turn off your switch to kill your engine, it won't kill your engine. You got to have this ground wire hooked up. And again, this one is for the headlight. I guess I'll go around this side. Now we'll take our wire and pull our cables up through and hook them back up. Okay, I got that one pulled in. Now I'm going to shove this wire back down. We're going to hook the other cable, and we're going to try to pull that one up. Sometimes this can take a few minutes. That's kind of why I shut this off. This one we'll try to pull through and show you how I get it out of this top hole. Now when I grab it with a wire, I try to have all the ferrules up on the wire, on the cable. Now for some reason on my brake cable, if you can see this, I only have 3 ferrules. One's crushed on and 2 I can move. The other side I have 4. I don't know what the difference is. Some machines have more than others, I don't know why. But when I hook that wire on this cable, I want to have all these ferrules up so they come through that hole when the wire comes out. Trying to get this hook down here is sometimes a problem. My cable is starting to get some bad spots on it. I lost it. I have to go back down and get it. Well, that took a little doing, but I got it up to the top with the wire. I have it looped out of the hole. You can see this loop here. Now if you keep pulling and pull down on it, the ferrules will pop out of that little slot for you. It shouldn't give you any more of a problem. Now they come out these little side holes. They don't come around. They don't come out of this hole and come around here. This sharp edge is going to cut your cable. They come out of this hole up here, and there's a hole on the other side for it. Then you want to push them through your pedal cover. Getting that last one through there without dropping it down this hole, you don't want to do that. You have to pull the whole cable back out again. I had all mine through the hole, and then you got to get this cover on. Sometimes that's a harder job than pulling the cable up through. And that's working. Okay, I threw the seat back on and it's back together. The next thing is I'm going to do my, what do I even call it? Repowering my snapper. I'm going to give it a little bit more power to suck up these. I have a Catawba tree in the yard. If you don't know what them are, they're a tree that grows long beans that are full of seeds, and the leaves on these trees are the size of a paper plate. And about the second or third frost that you have in the fall, all these leaves will come down overnight. One will fall and touch another one, and it's just a big chain reaction where this tree will be totally empty by morning. So now you have these paper plates about a foot deep underneath this tree, and no matter what you do, it always seems to plug my tube up. So we're going to give it a little more power to make sure them leaves get into them bags. But what you want to be careful is I've had a couple viewers say, hey, my engine blew up, so I had this 19 horse I put on here, and I'm breaking axle and I broke a chain, and that's too much horsepower for these machines. They weren't engineered for that. If that's the only engine you have, put it on, but don't run it at full speed. Engines are rated like 11, this is 11.5 horse. That's rated 11.5 horsepower at 3,000 RPMs. If you idle your engine down to say half speed, you're going to have half the horsepower and you won't be tearing things up. Let's just say I'm going to increase my horsepower. I don't want to give this away. You're just going to have to keep watching. 2 or 3 more weeks, I'm going to have this thing built out in the driveway, and I'll show you what it looks like and how it's going to run. So until then, work safe, have fun, and let's get these snappers running, because you can't buy them anymore.